Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. The Montreal Canadiens were down by a score of 3-0 in period number 1 last night versus the Philadelphia Flyers. The Canadiens bounced back with 4 unanswered goals in period number 2, but the Flyers tied it up in period number 3 and eventually won the game by a score of 5-4 in a shootout. The Canadiens were outshot 42-20. Samuel Montembeault finished the game very, very strong, but yet Marty St. Louis told members of the media earlier today that it's going to be Jakub Dobes who will face the Devils tomorrow night in New Jersey. Craig Button is coming up. We have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about Ivan Demidov and Lane Hutson. We'll talk about Nick Suzuki. We'll talk about Samuel Montembeault. We'll talk about Martin St. Louis. We're also going to be joined by Pierre LeBrun, also of TSN, and Pierre LeBrun, also of The Athletic. We're going to talk to him about Michkov, Zegras, Pierre-Luc Dubois out long-term, Cutter Gauthier off to 10 goals, Steven Stamkos, a name that keeps on coming up, and all that and more right here on the Sick Podcast, weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Craig Button and Pierre LeBrun, my guest tonight. I'm Marinaro.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your number one sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lanier, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, November 5th. Thanks for joining me, everyone. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all. Fast, reliable, powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Winning Wednesdays at Playground. Tonight is Wednesday. Well, earlier today, you could have started your breakfast with a $5 breakfast as of 7 a.m. at Playground. Winning Wednesday is the ultimate midweek experience for players aged 50 and up. Take your shot at winning your age in cash with hourly draws until 3 p.m. And don't forget to claim your free play, available until 10 p.m. Wednesdays were made for winning, only at Playground. Take a look at those cans that are in front of me if we can. Alexis Lavoie-Martel at Master Control, thank you very much. That is Bittt, the Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days, with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. Last night, the Montreal Canadiens were very, very slow out of the gates. Needless to say, the Canadiens had only 2 shots in period number 1, both from the perimeter, by the way, from the outside. Gallagher was one and Demidov was the other. The Philadelphia Flyers scored early on a redirect by Bobby Brink, and Bobby Brink added another one on a power play, and York also added another one on the power play. And before the Canadiens could even blink, they were down by a score of 3-0 to the Flyers, who had 2 goals from Bobby Brink. Brink. Okay, pretty funny, I thought. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It wasn't fun. I'm sure Marty St. Louis was not laughing when the Canadiens started the way they started, but he must have been pretty happy when they decided to put it in 5th gear in period number 2, and they scored 4 goals, 2 by Kirby Dach at even strength, and 2 on the power play, Nick Suzuki and Ivan Demidov. But unfortunately for the Montreal Canadiens, a lapse in concentration in period number 3 saw Grubenkin tied the score at 4. It goes to overtime. The Canadiens couldn't score in a 3-on-3, something they had done previous to that because they were 5-0 in those same circumstances. But last night they went to a shootout, and the only player who scored in a shootout, by the way, Trevor Zegras. Hey, you ready for the stat of the day? All time in shootouts, Trevor Zegras has the highest percentage of completions in terms of goals. He is 15 of 23 in a shootout. I repeat, 15 of 23. What a game for Trevor Zegras last night. We look forward to a great podcast today with Craig Button of TSN, their director of scouting and their hockey analyst. And after Craig, we're going to be joined by Pierre LeBrun, also of TSN and of The Athletic. But without further ado, let's bring him in, Craig Button.
Craig Button, presented by Souvlaki Authentique. Bring the taste of Greece home.
And yes, Craig Button is presented by Souvlaki Authentique. Montreal knows good food, but nothing hits like Souvlaki Authentique. Every stick of Souvlaki is marinated fresh. Every pita is packed with flavor, and the potatoes, twice fried and finished with that signature lemon sauce. Comfort food, Greek-style, family-run, flavor-packed, and proud to serve Montreal. Go to SouvlakiAuthentique.com to find your nearest location and bring the taste of Greece home. Craig Button, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing extremely well. Thank you very much. It was a typical night in Montreal last night where a goalie was booed in period number 1, cheered in period number 2, and they were chanting his name in period number 3. Just a typical night in Montreal, Craig.
I don't know about typical. I mean, I think what it is the Montreal Canadiens have set a standard and the expectations are high, as they should be. The team's been fantastic. And people are rooting for Sam Montembeault. I mean, you look at the first period, they fall behind 3-0, and certainly it's easy to point the finger at Sam Montembeault. But the bottom line is, there was no, if Sam Montembeault wasn't in the net, the game would have been over somewhere in the first period because Montreal would have never been able to come back. And then he gave them a chance to come back by being stellar in the net, and he deserved the kudos and the applause for his performance last night. And it would be too easy to just say, oh, Sam Montembeault wasn't good in the first period. The Montreal Canadiens were awful. They were terrible. Yeah. And so Sam Montembeault, what I would say is he kept it to 3. Because if it gets to 5, 6, 7, he might be putting up his hand like Patrick Waugh did.
Yeah, I think you and I think we're going to agree on some things today, and I'm probably going to have a little bit of a different opinion on some other things. So let me start. I agree with you that the Montreal Canadiens were absolutely terrible in period number 1. I also agree with you that loss is not on Samuel Montembeault last night. I agree with Marty St. Louis for keeping Samuel Montembeault in that game and not pulling him. St. Louis says he thought about, he at the moment when it was 3-0, he said, I'm not going to pull him, but maybe it's something I'm going to revisit after the first period. He gave Montembeault a chance to fight and claw his way back into the game and to regain that confidence that has been lost at some point earlier this season. I agree with all of that. Earlier today, Marty St. Louis announced that Jakub Dobes is going to be the Canadian starting goaltender on Thursday night in New Jersey. I also agree with that decision. Where I'm a little bit lost here, where the coach lost me, and he hasn't lost me on too many occasions this year, because I think I've been in agreement with 95% of the buttons that he's pushed and the things that he's done and the things that he said, is I didn't think he was going to go back with Montembeault on Saturday night versus the Ottawa Senators. I thought Montembeault also on Saturday was nervous. I thought he was shaky, and I'm really happy that he was able to get the win in that game. But he goes with Montembeault on Saturday, and obviously he went back with him again last night because he wanted to give him confidence. He also told members of the media yesterday that, teams have a number 1 goalie who gets the lion's share of the work, and he anticipates that goalie is going to be Montembeault, and his decisions were going to be taken accordingly. And now he's going back to Dobes. So I'm just a little bit lost in terms of, Saturday and last night. But I agree with everything you said, that it was not Montembeault's fault. And I'm happy that he was able to find his game by the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's positive for Sam as well. So let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Do you expect Marty to come out and say, geez, I'm really not sure about Sam Montembeault. I'm trying to do everything I can to get him to perform at the level we expect him to? Or do you want him to try to do it in the way that Marty has done it? They came off the road, and Sam Montembeault goes into the net Saturday. I agree with you there, Tony. I had no problem with them starting there because here's the way I look at it. They should have beat Philadelphia last night. The reason he didn't pull Montembeault, if I'm the coach, or if I'm not, because I would have pulled 18 players out of the game. That's how bad the Montreal Canadiens were in the first period. So why are you going to pull the goalie and put all the onus on him? I would just say, this guy has saved your bacon. It's time for you guys to go out and do your part. Now you're going into on the road where Dobes has been outstanding, and you're going against a very good team. Like, Marty doesn't do anything willy-nilly. Marty doesn't do anything without thinking about today, tomorrow, what he's trying to do to keep the players' confidence. To me, this totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Come back with Montembeault at home on a Saturday night. Give him a chance to after the team was good on the road. They find a way to win that game. And then try to build his confidence against a weaker Philadelphia team. Bottom line is I think he was able to get Sam in the net. And Dobes right now is the reason the Canadiens have had such a great start. I shouldn't say no reason. He's a big part of the reason. And New Jersey's a good team. So
I don't want to look ahead here. The Canadiens in New Jersey are obviously the class of the East right now, in a very, very tight East, by the way, because 5 points separates the top and the bottom and all that stuff. But I have a question for you. I don't want to look ahead, but I will. Okay. What if Dobes stands on his head on Thursday and the Canadiens beat the Devils? Can I ask you who your starting goalie would be on Saturday night versus the Utah Mammoth?
Yeah, I think it's too, the question is fair, okay, and it's a fair question, but there's so much more that goes into it. like in terms of how you want to use your goaltenders. I haven't looked past that. What's the next? When's their next back-to-back? How many games do they have in a short stretch? We have a compacted schedule.
Yeah.
The sport performance people who are so integral in this, trying to understand what maximizes performance for both Dobes and for Montembeault, that's a big factor. They're always looking ahead, Tony. They're always looking ahead. And that's why I say Marty is not willy-nilly here. He's managing it. There's going to come a point in time where he's going to have to say, hey, listen, you know what? I want to ride this guy a little bit more. I want to ride this guy a little bit less. But right now, with the compacted schedule and with the fact that he knows Sam is better than he's played, or his numbers indicate, that you're planning everything out. And you have room to maneuver and you have room to change your mind. But you always have to look ahead. You have to. So I don't think it comes down to Dobes winning a game. What happens if Dobes wins the game and he faces 35 high-quality chances and they have him moving side to side and he's having a battle in there, and you look at it and go, geez, he really had to work in that game. Conversely, somebody that doesn't have to work that wins the game, and you start to look, okay, we played really tight in front of them. That can really help Sam going into Saturday against a good Utah team. These are all significant factors that go into the decision who starts.
Yeah, I think in Montreal, and I think Marty tried to address it last week when 2 days before the game versus Ottawa, I looked at members of the media, and Marty usually tells members of the media who his starting goalie is going to be the day before a game. But last week, it was 2 days before the game versus Ottawa, and he looked at members of the media and said, Montembeault is getting the start on Saturday. And then he's like, can we stop talking? Can we end it now? Because it almost seems like he doesn't want this to be a goalie controversy. Maybe he believes it could be a bad distraction for his team. Sammy's at master control. Sammy, can you bring up, just for the sake of discussion here, the schedule during the month of November? Because Craig Button asked me a question regarding back-to-backs. And there, Craig, as you see it right now on your screen, the next time the Canadiens are going to play a back-to-back is only going to be on the 28th and 29th of November. So they're basically playing every other night here for the most part. So they got Jersey on Thursday. 2 nights later, they're going to be in Montreal versus Utah. 3 nights later in Montreal versus Los Angeles. A couple nights after that in Montreal versus Dallas. A couple nights after that on the 15th of November, a Saturday night game at the Bell Center. The Canadiens are going to host the Boston Bruins. A couple nights after that, off to that damn cannon in Columbus that every time it goes off, it just drives everyone crazy. 3 nights after that, they're going to be at home versus Washington. A couple nights after that, on the 22nd of November, a Saturday night versus the Toronto Maple Leafs in Montreal. And then they are going to be playing 3 games in 4 nights at the end of November, in Utah on a Wednesday, in Vegas on a Friday, and in Colorado on a Saturday. So would you expect kind of like, because once again, Marty wants to avoid a goalie controversy, but at the same time, one is winning and has good stats, and the other one is winning a lot less and doesn't have very good stats. Would you expect a 50-50 split for the month of November?
Yeah, I think to this point in time, I mean, that's what we've seen from Marty St. Louis and the goalie tandem of Montembeault and Dobes. I think the question to Marty might be, did you expect there to be an alternating goaltending rotation in the net at this point in the season?
That's a great question. That
would be, and again, okay.
That's a great
so
question.
You're trying to build, and remember, goalies don't find solutions to things that are ailing them in the net during games. You got to take them out of the net. They got to work on that outside of the game. They got to work on it in practice and everything. And I think that, Sam has talked about, finding some things, getting a little bit more comfortable in some of the things that he wants to do that he knows he hasn't to do. But you can't correct your game in game, like in terms of the things. You can correct little things in game, but the things that are the areas that are causing you problems, you got to work on those in practice. So that would be the question I would ask Marty St. Louis. But it's a good problem to have. But, controversy, who creates controversy? Like, unless Sam Montembeault comes out and goes, I can't believe the way they're treating me, or Jakub Dobes comes out, I can't believe that with all these great numbers I have, they're not playing me. That's the only way you're going to get a controversy. And if a team or individuals are going to be, I don't want to say hurt, that's not the right word, but there's going to be inflection points because of this so-called controversy or distraction.
Yeah.
You got a bigger problem. You got a bigger problem because if that's going to be a distraction to the players, that's on the players.
If you don't have winter tires, you got a big problem. But yet we have a solution because we got a terrific contest going on right now with Point S and GT Radial, offering you the chance to win a new set of GT Radial winter tires plus free installation at a Point S garage, a total value of $1,000. In order to participate, go to the Sick Podcast's Instagram page and like and comment on the pinned post below. Follow the Sick Podcast and Point S on Instagram. This contest ends on November 16. Point S is your trusted garage for complete vehicle care. Craig, last night, I don't think anyone complained about the price of admission because it wasn't easy. And yes, the Canadiens weren't there for period number one. But in the second period, when the Canadiens decided to put it in fifth gear, there were 2 goals by Kirby Dach at 5-on-5, and there were 2 power play goals, one by Nick Suzuki, which was set up by Evan Demidov, and another one by Demidov himself. Let's hear from Marty St. Louis on Demidov and on the power play.
Yeah. If you're put in the situations, I think he's getting the platform to show that. But I also think for a young player, the transition is not just on the puck offensively. There's a transition of the whole game you got to play, and I don't know how long the puck is on his stick, Demi. I don't know. I mean, he played 16, 17 minutes. Does he have the puck for a minute 15? There's 15 other minutes that you have to adapt to the league. And I feel like his intentions are taking that seriously, and it's nothing perfect, but I think he's trying to do all the right things in that department. And it's a big reason why I put him on the first PP, because I felt he already showed me that he had the intentions in the right place to play our collective games offensively, defensively. But when he does those moments, he's a player that's got elite. Offensively, he transitioned very well with the platform that he's given, but there's a whole other game that he's got to keep improving on.
Craig, ever since Ivan Demidov has been moved to the first unit of the power play, which was back on the 23rd of October, the Canadiens are 7 for 13 on the power play. 7 for 13. That's at a clip of what? I don't know, 59% or something like that. I mean, that's 57 or 54. I don't know what it is. 7 of 13. Let me take out the calculator, but that's a high number, Craig. That's number 1 in the National Hockey League. What a show Demidov put on last night, Craig.
Yeah, and let me just go back to the power play. When it happened, they asked Nick Suzuki, and Nick Suzuki says, I might have some less touches on the power play, but it gives us a different opportunity with Ivan being over on that side of the ice, with him being a threat over there. It opens up lane. I don't think there was any better example than the power play goal Slafkovsky scored against Seattle. If you go back and watch that play, Jamie Alexiak, he's looking at Demidov, and Frankie Corrado broke it down brilliantly, I thought. He's looking over, and he's just sliding over. All it did was give a 6-inch space for that puck to come to Slafkovsky. It was in the back of the net. And that's exactly what Nick Suzuki was talking about. When you got multiple threats from multiple areas of the ice, you open up the ice, you threaten from different areas, and you make the defending team on the penalty kill think about a lot of things, including the goaltender. And I think that's what Ivan has been able to do on the power play. He's been phenomenal. I mean, Marty talked about it. He talked about trying to continue to work, and I think Marty's just trying to say he said to Ivan, "You're a good player. I'm going to dangle this in front of you. Just keep doing those other things." Coaches are going to use all different types of tools to try to get players to work in other areas. That's accountability. And Marty's not going to let that accountability slip, which I think is really positive. And Marty knows how special Demidov is.
You know who I didn't see play the 200-foot game yesterday? Who I didn't see show the work ethic that Demidov showed? Who I didn't see show the commitment to the team? He plays for the other team. He's also a Russian. His name is Matvei Michkov. Craig, he's unrecognizable out there. Have you been able to put your finger on why? Do you account this to just sophomore struggles, or is there something else that you can tell us?
Okay, so what can you control? Can you control your work rate? Yeah. Can you control your compete rate? Yeah, you can. And he's not working. He's not competing. He showed up in camp out of shape. The Flyers didn't know about it. He said that, well, I had a bad ankle, so I wasn't able to train. Well, it shows that you weren't able to train, and now you don't work, and now you don't compete, and now you're surprised that Rick Tocchet says, I'm not going to play you as many minutes as you think you deserve. I mean, he's acting like an entitled little brat. That's what he's acting like. And Rick Tocchet ain't going to tolerate it, and nobody should tolerate it. We talk about raising the standard, and we talk about how you're going to do it. That's the bottom line. He's slow. He's deliberate. He's non-competitive. He's not working. He just wants to stand there and wait for the puck. Here I am. Pass it to me. Pass it to me. You talk about accountability. He's being held accountable. It's up to him. Rise up or fall back. And he right now, you're right. He doesn't look like a player. I'll be straightforward with you. He doesn't even look like an NHL player right now, Tony.
Wow. By the way, that Canadiens power play since Demidov was moved to the first unit is at 54%, 7 of 13. I think you're right. I think they gave him the benefit of the doubt when Tortorella was coaching that team. But if he thinks he's going to run another coach out of town, I don't think that's going to happen. And I just get the feeling that Michkov is saying, well, you know what? I'm going to go by my rules. And Danny Briere and Rick Tocchet are going to say, no. You're going to go by our rules. And I can't wait to see what develops here because you know what? Marty St. Louis had a mission a couple of years ago. He really took it to heart. He wanted to work with Cole Caulfield to remove that unidimensional player tag from Caulfield and to make Caulfield a 200-foot player. He's done an admirable job, and Caulfield also deserves a lot of credit because of his coachability and his wanting to do it, and they were able to do it together. I think that's what Tocchet and Briere are hoping for with Michkov in Philadelphia. Remains to see if he's going to be as a willing participant and student as Cole Caulfield was. But I got to tell you, I have my doubts. Before we get to Pierre LeBrun, also last night, another guy who put on a show, Lane Hutson. Can we get to the hockey stat card to show Craig what we have here on Lane Hutson? Craig, look at this. Hockey stat card last night. No, that's not the hockey stat card. If we can get it. Okay, well, that's something else, but assists in the first 100 games, Lane Hutson with 74, Cale Makar with 73. Hutson still has 3 more games to play before reaching 100 games. That's a pretty impressive stat.
Well, I mean, you say that it's pretty impressive, and it is, and all you're doing is comparing superstar to superstar. Because Lane Hutson's a superstar, Tony. So you know what? When you put up that number, and I call Lane Hutson a superstar, and when you put up that number and compare him to another superstar in Cale Makar, you go, it just makes me feel better about labeling Lane Hutson as a superstar.
Here's the hockey stat card. It's up right now for those who can see it, and for those who could take a look at, of course, the team offense above average, the individual offense in the game, the team defense above average. Take a look at Lane Hutson's number. He was absolutely dominant last night for the Montreal Canadiens. Absolutely dominant. It was really a thing of beauty. Unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player, Tony. I mean, again, we're talking like he's a superstar.
You know who else is a superstar? And we're going to talk about him with Pierre LeBrun as well in just a couple of minutes. Mike Kelly of the NHL Network brought up something courtesy of Sport Logique. And it's a graphic on Nick Suzuki. And this is absolutely unbelievable. If we can bring it up, Nick Suzuki. This is, I think, before last night's game. Offensive zone possession among forwards, he's 18th in the league. Zone entries, he's 20th. Slot passes, he's 17th. Turnover rate, 3rd. Puck battle wins, 3rd. Nick Suzuki. Top 5-point getter in the National Hockey League today. Craig Button, I asked Pierre LeBrun, and I keep on asking you, and I probably will every time I talk to you gentlemen on Wednesdays before actually Hockey Canada makes up their mind. But I think you were pretty unanimous last week, right? He's on the team.
I was unanimous last year. Like, nothing's changing because guess what? Nick Suzuki doesn't change. Nick Suzuki just continues to show that he's at the upper echelon of centers in the National Hockey League. Of all centers, forget about Canadian centers, of all centers. And you could make, and there's no way, and I'll argue this with anybody, Sidney Crosby on the Olympic team is going to play left wing with McKinnon. So take that. After McDavid and after McKinnon, tell me who's better than Nick Suzuki. Just tell me. Not who's as good, not who could be as good. Who's better?
Statistically speaking, nobody in the league has been better since the Four Nations tourney last year.
Listen, Patrice Bergeron was a lock on Team Canada's group for a number of years. And I feel the same exact way about Nick Suzuki. And I felt that way. I compared him to Nick Suzuki or to Patrice Bergeron long ago. I've watched this guy too long, perform at such an elite level for too long. Like, you can ask me every week. Nothing's changing, Tony.
I agree with that comparable 100%. I'll add this. He's not quite Patrice Bergeron defensively speaking yet, who obviously won the Selke 6 times, but he's already, after 6 seasons in the National Hockey League, a better offensive player than Patrice Bergeron was, with all due respect to him, after his illustrious 20-year career. Suzuki's already better 6 years in.
Well, I mean, Patrice Bergeron, he's an automatic first ballot Hall of Famer. All he did was help teams win. That's what Nick Suzuki does. Like, whether you're a little bit better here or not as good as there, the guy's a complete difference maker in every regard.
And so are you for the Sick Podcast. Craig Button, every Wednesday when the Canadiens don't play. Thank you very much, Craig. Awesome as usual.
Thanks, Tony.
I love this guy, Craig Button. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. Who's going to win tomorrow night, the Canadiens or the Devils? Go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. It's now time for Pierre LeBrun.
Pierre LeBrun, presented by Cafe Milano, because winning tastes better.
Oh, yeah, and Cafe Milano dropped by earlier today, as a matter of fact, and brought us some goodies and brought us some cannolis, which I'm sure if Pierre LeBrun makes his way down to Montreal, if we can grab him, bring him over to Cafe Milano's, I'm sure they would love it, and I'm sure that he would love it too. Sports commentary doesn't stop at the buzzer, and neither does Cafe Milano, a true community cornerstone in St. Leonard with buzzing spots in Laval and Pointe Claire. They're serving a banger sandwiches, my personal favorite being the sausage sandwich with spicy, marinated eggplants, vibrant salads, bursting with flavor, and lattes and espressos that keep energy high through overtime. Throw in a cannoli or two, and every bite is a highlight. Join the locals at Cafe Milano. Do we actually have the cannolis from Cafe Milano? Do we have them? Pierre LeBrun has to see this. I want to see him salivate live on air. I want to. Here we go.
You're the only one who wants to see me salivate on air. No one else does.
All right. There we go. We have it on Cafe Milano. Okay. Beautiful. Now, when you open that box, here's where it's going to get tricky. And by the way, this is not the same cannoli which was given to that older gentleman at the opera and The Godfather 3, right? Which was the last thing that he ate. Right. All right. But it is very, very good. All right. So thank you to Cafe Milano. All right. Okay. It's a great spot. And we'll save some cannolis for you, Pierre. Pierre, you just heard what I had to say with Craig Button, obviously, about Nick Suzuki. And Craig said, look, after Connor McDavid, and then Nate McKinnon's going to be at center, and obviously Crosby believes will be on his wing. There's a spot for Nick Suzuki there, and a lot of people would agree. But Mark Scheifele's making a pretty good case for himself too, huh?
Yeah. So let's just remind everyone what is going on here. And first of all, Team Canada's management group is meeting Sunday and Monday here in Toronto, and it's some pretty important meetings, Tony. They're going to cut down the list. Not right to the end, obviously. They've got till December 31st to do that, but they're going to cut it. You know, Doug Armstrong told me in September that these meetings here on November 9th and 10th, they probably will come out on November 10th, which is Monday, down to 35 or so players. So that's a pretty small list. They really want to focus on that last bubble group heading into December 31st. So, you know, let's talk about the forwards and we'll get to Suzuki. There's already 5 forwards named, by the way. A lot of people keep forgetting that. Back in June, Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, Braden Point, and Sam Reinhart were named, along with Cale Makar on defense as part of the 6. So that means that there's only 9 forward spots left up for grabs. Now, the guys on the 4 Nations obviously have a leg up. And among those, I think guys you can put in there now, in my opinion, are Mitch Marner, Sam Bennett, despite his early season struggles. I mean, what Bennett did winning another cup has absolutely sold that management group. And I think Brandon Hagel, obviously John Cooper's the head coach. So that brings you to, 9. So now you got 5 spots left. Now let's talk about some of the 4 Nations guys that are, Mark Stone's injured right now. So where does that, they love him. The coaching staff and Team Canada loves him, but he's injured. So where's that going to go? Brad Marchand, people wondered, is he too old to make the Olympic team? But let me tell you, they loved what he brought inside that room at 4 Nations. It's a quiet room with some of the big stars, and Brad Marchand is a voice that really resonated. So again, things that we don't always talk about, but that's an off-ice thing where he was really important. And then you got Seth Jarvis, Anthony Cirelli, and Travis Konechny, who were on 4 Nations. And whether or not they take them for Olympics, I think Seth Jarvis has been really, really good so far this year. So there are openings there. Okay. The guys I think that have played the best on the bubble that are trying to get in from the group that wasn't in, to me, are Nick Suzuki, Mark Scheifele, and Macklin Celebrini.
No doubt about it.
So those are the 3 guys. Right after them, I think Team Canada is also mentioning the likes of Wyatt Johnston, Tom Wilson, Robert Thomas, Quinton Byfield. Those guys are in the mix as well. But
Connor Bedard,
I think, listen, I think it's going to be harder for him. I'm not saying he won't make it. He's definitely on the radar. But, I just think that if Celebrini ends up on this team, how much youth here and Olympic inexperience can you take on? So we'll see. He's certainly in the conversation, but that's where sort of, to me, it is up front right now.
Yeah.
And I think Suzuki, who really needed, I think, to continue what he did last year. I heard what Craig said. He's bang on. He needed to, if not continue it, even bring it next level. And I think that's what he's done so far this season. I mean, he's been playing, for my money, the best hockey of his career.
Speaking of Hockey Canada, Doug Armstrong and Don Sweeney of Hockey Canada were in attendance last night at the Bell Center to catch the Canadiens and the Flyers. They saw Nick Suzuki score a goal on the power play. They also saw him win 17 of 23 faceoffs on the night for 74%. They also saw him win a defensive zone faceoff in overtime with 7.2 seconds left in overtime. And then with 1 second left in overtime, put his body in front of a Travis Konechny blast to block the shot. And there was a therapy day for Nick Suzuki earlier today, who obviously has his bumps and bruises, but the Canadiens told us that Nick Suzuki will make the trip to New Jersey and will play for the Canadiens tomorrow night versus the Devils. Another name that's coming up, speaking of Montreal, there's a name that's coming up in Montreal. I believe it's Jeff Marek who brought up the name, who said, maybe take a look at Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos has a connection with Marty St. Louis. Obviously, they played together with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have a lot of respect for each other. Steven Stamkos is off to a very difficult start. He's got 2 goals in 15 games. If we can bring up his hockey DB, everyone can see, of course, the illustrious career that Steven Stamkos has had. I mean, this guy is going to the Hall of Fame, but he's playing for a team that most believe will not make the playoffs this year. Let's bring up his contract status if we can, courtesy of Puckpedia. Steven Stamkos makes $8 million a year. He's got the rest of this year and 2 more years on his deal. Pierre LeBrun, are you hearing Steven Stamkos' name out there at all? And if so, would a move to the Canadiens make sense?
I'm not hearing his name. It's not to say that as this year goes on that we may not, but I'm just being honest with you, Tony. I've not heard his name at all. I will tell you that I sat down with Steven Stamkos at the start of the season when the Predators were in Toronto. I did a long sit-down interview with him for a piece in The Athletic. And at that time, he said he was in a much better place mentally about his adjustment to Nashville, about how much his family has adjusted and really enjoyed Nashville. You know, his kids are in school and sports there, and he just year two felt totally different to him. That was, you know, first week or two of the season when we did that interview. So, you know, since then it's still been a difficult grind offensively for him with the Predators. You know, I think that, you know, he's so well respected around the league. And while there might be some teams that look at the contract and wonder about taking that on, I still think that if he went to Barry Trotz, a GM in Nashville, and said, you know, maybe this isn't working, then I think there would be some strong interest. But again, I want to be clear here. I've not heard his name out there at this point.
He's played center and wing over the course of his career. I believe at this stage of his career, he's more a winger than he is a centerman, but I'd love to have your take on that.
Yeah, and that started happening in the last few years in Tampa. You may remember, actually, when he was younger, that was a point of contention with John Cooper when it first started happening. But he got used to it, and yeah, I don't think that's. I'm with you. I think wing is the more natural spot at this time of his career. Still has that great release and great shot, and makes more sense from the wing.
What a rookie race we're having, eh? You know, you watch Demidov and he blows you away, and then you watch Schaefer and he blows you away even more, and then you watch Demidov the game after and he blows you away more than Schaefer did, and they're taking turns at blowing everyone away here. It's unbelievable how good they are.
Yeah, I tweeted about that during the Flyers Habs game because obviously that goal from Demidov was unbelievable. I think I said, Demidov to Matthew Schaefer, hold my beer, and you know, not everyone enjoyed that tweet, but my point was that I think these two kids are going to go back and forth, and the rest of the rookie race too. It's a really special year, and you know, I think it'll be interesting to see if it ends up, you know, being. I don't think it's a two-player race right now. I think it's a pretty deep race, but if it ends up being Schaefer and Demidov, it'll be really interesting. I'm among the many voters in the PHWA vote for the Calder, and a real interesting debate if they both just keep ramping it up all year, and it's a really hard vote, is that, you know, you got Demidov and you know, doing that in Montreal with all the pressure on him would be unbelievable. And then you got Matthew Schaefer, first overall pick, playing D at 18 is really hard. And so I think that would curry a lot of votes from some of the voters because it's so hard to play that many minutes as a teenager on the blue line in the NHL. So anyway, we're way early on this, and I think other rookies will poke their nose in this conversation, but it's shaping up to be a really special year, like last year was. You know, I mean, I did vote Lane Hutson with my first place vote last year on the Calder, but boy, Dustin Wolf gave me a lot to think about. In particular, because Dustin Wolf was the MVP of the Calgary Flames. He's the reason that they were even within shouting distance of a playoff spot, and so that carried a lot of weight. I really, at the end, had to talk to a lot of different people across the league before I voted on my Calder. But I think Hutson certainly deserved it.
I think he's making it look pretty good even 1 year later, right? We've looked at those stats earlier and before with Craig. He had a game last night that was unbelievable. He did a shake and bake on Gaucher that was incredible to set up Kirby Dach for his second goal of the game. Even though Kirby Dach had his second goal of the game and he's played 4 very, very good games, still a lot of people are looking at that center ice position and saying, you know, that's the one. We've been talking about it for a while, you and I, and that's why we're throwing out all these names. Kadri's name has come up. Pavel Zacha's name has come up. Ryan O'Reilly's name. Everyone's name has come up. Like you said, the Canadiens are interested in a centerman, and they've probably written down every single name of every single centerman in the National Hockey League. But with Pierre-Luc Dubois going down with an injury in Washington, you would have to think that that team would love to go out and get center help as well. So now it makes going out and acquiring a centerman even more difficult for the Canadiens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Caps say that Dubois will be back before the end of the season, so it's not season ending. And it's important to point that out now with the new playoff cap rules, Tony, because, it used to be, if you're just back for the playoffs, but not back for the end of the regular season, you can basically go out and replace that guy's salary. You can't do that anymore with the new rules.
Yeah.
So the fact that Dubois is expected back means that you don't actually have his money to spend if he's expected back for the end of the season. That's what the Caps say. So I'm not saying that eventually they won't go out and seek out help. I know right now they're saying that they'll look internally for whoever can step up. But I just a reminder that we're in a different world now with the new CBA rules regarding that. The only reason the Florida Panthers could get Brad Marchand is because Matthew Tkachuk didn't come back till the playoffs last year. Well, this year, when that player comes back, his full salary is on your playoff cap. So it's a different world, and it'll be really fascinating to me to see how it affects the trade deadline. Most teams that I talk to believe that it will affect it in a negative way.
Hey, we saw Trevor Zegras pick up 3 points in the Flyers win, 5-4 win versus the Canadiens yesterday. Also scored the only goal in the shootout. 15 of 23, Trevor Zegras in the shootout, by the way. It's absolutely unbelievable. In the final year of a 3-year deal that was $5.75 million, this guy found a pretty good time to have a great year, huh? This guy's going to break the bank.
Yeah, he's and he's found a home, more importantly. It was really up and down life in Anaheim for whatever reason, a real glitzy start to his career in Anaheim, and then some doghouse years, and then everything that happened, and he ends up getting dealt. But I feel like now the maturity and his evolution in Philly seems to have really found a home. And the Flyers aren't in a hurry on that, but he's RFA, he's not UFA, so they'll get that done in due time.
Yeah, speaking of Flyers, how about former Flyer Cutter Gauthier off to an incredible start, 10 goals. I mean, what a start for him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you can talk about that in front of the Flyers, though, right?
No, you cannot do that. You can't do that. I had Danny Briere on my friend's show yesterday, and I asked him about Michkov, and I said, Danny, look, I'm going to tell you something, my perspective for what it's worth. Somebody here, totally member of the media on the outside. I get the feeling he's a blue line in player, blue line to goal. Obviously I get the feeling that you love to make him a 200-foot player. And the Canadiens did the same thing with Cole Caulfield, and it's worked out. And he responded, and he said he was very diplomatic, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's pretty upset about Michkov's effort and professionalism this season. Craig Button talked about him showing up to camp out of shape. He said, listen, we don't want to make Michkov a defensive player, but we have certain standards, and you know what? Can he meet us halfway? So just put a little bit of water in your wine, as they say.
I actually talked about Michkov as well on Insider Trading Tuesday, Tony, and similar vein. What I shared on the show was that, there was disappointment from the Flyers at how things have played out here. He, as you said, he showed up to camp not in the kind of shape that they expected from him. And it put him behind the 8 ball, which has created the fact that he doesn't have the same separation on the ice that he had a year ago. And there were a lot of turnovers early on. He got benched at times by Rick Tocchet. Now it's been better of late, they tell me. And part of that is that he's putting in the work with the Flyers assistant coaches, trying to catch up and trying to get this right. I mean, he's not the first second-year NHL player to go through this, frankly. I mean, it's happened many times in the history of the league, but it's disappointing. It's disappointing given who he is and how much the organization loves the guy and how much he's such a big part of their future. There's a real lesson here for him that, next offseason he has to train a lot harder.
I want to get back to Hockey Canada for a second. When they get together here on the 9th or the 10th and they make some very important decisions and they cut down their list to about 35, you think Samuel Montembeault will still be on that list?
He probably will. It's funny. I was just going through the goalies today. He is far from a lock to go back. I mean, it's been a struggle for him this year, although, he saved their bacon saved Montreal's bacon last night. But
Yeah.
It's not a deep list of Canadian goalies. I had it up here this morning. Let me bring it up. But, Binnington's a lock, and even though he has struggled too, but because of his pedigree and winning that big game at the Four Nations, winning a cup, he's a lock. And then it gets interesting. Aiden Hill, injury issues. Montembeault has struggled. And then you look at what the rest of the field looks like. Logan Thompson is the best performing goalie right now with a Canadian passport.
Yeah.
Darcy Kemper was in the Vezina race last year. Stuart Skinner, up and down. And then after that, you literally go to Cam Talbot, who's played well for Detroit, but, he's up there in age. Jack Graves, Jake Allen, Scott Wedgwood. What happened to Canadian goalies, Tony? Why is this country not producing?
We're a ways off from Patrick Waugh, Marty Brodeur, Roberto Luongo, and Marc-Andre Fleury, let me tell you.
So your original question is, Montembeault will still be in that list of 35. Probably will, because I think as part of that 35, they'll probably have it down to 5 goalies, is my guess, and he'd be one of the 5, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Now, whether or not he goes from one of the 5 to one of the 3, that gets answered between November 10th and December 31st.
In ending, you had an interesting chat with Kyle Dubas on the Penguins and Sidney Crosby in the Olympics and his time with the Leafs. Don't want to give it away because I want everyone to be able to go to your article at The Athletic. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's for me, and I think anyone in the business, any sports fan signing up to The Athletic is a must, really, because there's a tremendous amount of talent there. Writing for The Athletic, Pierre LeBrun being one of them. But without giving away the entire article, your impressions on your chat with Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, it was a good chat Monday morning at Scotiabank Arena with Kyle Dubas. One thing that, and this wouldn't be as apparent, I think, to you guys in Montreal because, he was a Leafs GM, but he has not talked publicly a lot about his firing from the Leafs. He has declined a lot of interviews on that. And so just to get him to expand a bit finally in that interview was nice. He was really well spoken on it. And the crux of it was I asked him if he kind of regrets having that emotional news conference that he had, what turned out to be his last news conference as Leafs GM.
Yeah.
Because his deal was expiring and Brandon Shanahan didn't want him to have that news conference. It would later come out. And Dubas says he doesn't regret it because the team was under fire for failing in the playoffs again. And he didn't want to let Sheldon Keefe and the players face all the music. He felt he had to put himself in front of the cameras. And so again, I thought it was a truthful and thoughtful answer. And clearly enough time has passed now, 2.5 years, where he's over all that and got a lot to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that's his focus now.
And good for you for getting Dubas to speak about the past. It's something that a lot of GMs don't want to do, one of which was Marc Bergevin, until he spoke with you actually about it about a year ago, if memory serves me well. I think it was on the 3-year anniversary of his firing from the Montreal Canadiens. Jeff Gorton was appointed late in the month of November. So in a couple of weeks from now, it's going to be the 4-year anniversary of Gorton's hiring and Bergevin's dismissal. And speaking of Bergevin, I'll end it with this and I'll ask you, is his name associated anywhere?
Well, listen, he interviewed, as you know, last offseason for a couple of gigs. Notably, he was basically the runner-up to Matthew Darche for the New York Islanders GM job and had numerous interviews with the Islanders and got pretty close there. But right now it's quiet. And it's quiet, too, because it meant a lot to Marc Bergevin to hear from Ken Holland. When Ken Holland became GM in LA, he's like, Mark, I want you by my side. Mm-hmm. So Marc Bergevin has a lot of responsibility at Ken Holland's side. He's not just there collecting a paycheck. He's a big part of what's happening there in LA.
Maybe he'll be that guy going forward in LA.
Who's to say, Tony? One day at a time.
Hey, you know what? Everything's going great with the Montreal Canadiens. They're 9-3-1 as we speak. But I'll say this, and I've said it before, Pierre. I'll leave you with this. I had a nice conversation with Marc Bergevin before he left Montreal, and he said to me, he said, Tony, I'm happy that at least I can tell you one thing. Montreal Canadiens have found their number one centerman in Nick Suzuki, and they found their guy for at least the next 10 years. because Bergevin gave him that 8-year contract at $7.857 million per season, which now today is looking like an absolute steal. And when Bergevin gave him that contract, there were some people in Montreal and even around the league who said, whoa, that's too much too soon for this player. Yeah, we see that he's got talent, but not so sure he's a number one center. And, 3 or 4 years later, I think it's safe to say that Marc Bergevin got that one right.
Big time. And by the way, proving again that no team, no front office bats 1,000. One of the most respected front offices in the league since the day they came in is Vegas Golden Knights. They wheel and deal and they go after their guys. One of the very few glaring errors for them was having Nick Suzuki in that deal for Max Pacioretty.
Yeah.
That was one of those where they just wanted Pacioretty so bad, and he played well for them. But boy, Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee have not had a lot of missteps, but that was certainly one of them.
Pierre LeBrun, you never have a misstep when you're with us right here on the Sick Podcast. I thank you very much. A regular every Wednesday. We're so happy to have you, as you know. Thank you, Pierre. There you have it, Pierre LeBrun. Thank you very much. And I want to thank Cafe Milanos, of course, for bringing you Pierre LeBrun. I want to thank Suzuki, Nick Suzuki. I want to thank Souvlaki Authentique for bringing you Craig Button. I want to thank Point S and GT Radio. By the way, check out the Instagram page for the Sick Podcast and Point S. There's a contest going on right now for 4 winter tires and installation, a value of $1,000. Special thanks to Betway, our major sponsor on the French and English podcast, Bittt Tibi, the same Playground. Thank you very much. And the same thing for Energy Transportation Group. For Sammy and Agnello Cavallaro, I'm Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, weeknights at 10 p.m. I'll be back tomorrow night, right after the Montreal Canadiens and the New Jersey Devils, to bring you the Habs postgame show with Pierre Maguire. And I'm back every weekday morning at 10 a.m. with le Sick Podcast en français, du lundi au vendredi à 10h le matin sur la même chaîne YouTube. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.